Whoa, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode here on Let It Grow Investing. I'm Jeff, and thanks as always for stopping by. We got quite a bit of news to cover in this one. Everything with Trump going to the Middle East. We got United Health and all sorts of crisis. We've got Bitcoin moving. We've got Buffett making some big moves to wrap out quarter one. We've got AMD making some moves there as well. So quite a bit of things in a short amount of time. We're going to try to keep this one short. I don't have all day, and I know that you don't either. So let's get right to it. Man, did I mess up with UNH? Well, kind of. We were talking last week, and I went off the charts, went off of our 12 or 13 names that we're looking at for this year to build our portfolio over on Webull. If you're new here, we do an investing challenge where I'm putting in $200 every week. I've been doing it for 3 years now. You're tiptoeing up to about $40,000 at this point saved and or invested in this account. And I said, I want to buy some United Health. I thought that they had enough problems, but United Health is kind of looking like Boeing at the moment to me. And you guys know my thoughts on Boeing. Boeing can't get out of their own way. See what Trump said about Boeing. We've already, I'll get to that in a minute. But United Health, man, I got to go ahead and pull up. I don't have it already ready to go for you guys, but I'm going to sign into my E-Trade. I'm going to pull up United Health. We're going to share that screen in a second here and see just what happened this week. So I am pulling that up in the background. Let us go ahead and share my screen. United Health, UNH. Here we go. We're sitting at 291. This time last week, guys, I was like, yeah, we need to buy this. It's at 325, 330, whatever. Let's look at the chart. Let's not even guess. Yeah, somewhere around 325, 330. Okay. I mean, again, you can see my numbers down here. I'm not hiding anything. This is what I've got. Right. We made about $1,000 on it on Friday, right? So brutal. What had happened here is, well, one, United Health pulled their guidance. That was a big to-do, right? They were talking, and I was listening to the conference call. I don't normally listen to a bunch of them, but I did listen to this one. I listened at 1.5 times speed to get through this thing quickly. And overall, what they're saying is a lot of costs across the board in the Medicare market with Optum. They cited a lot of problems there, a lot of higher than expected costs. So they're going to be getting that under control. However, in the meantime, they wanted to pull guidance until they get that under control, until they know why all these people are opting for outpatient services at this point in time, and how they can go and get kind of back on track, get their margins back in order. You know, after the CEO problems, everything that happened there, it was a whole, heartbreaker, catastrophe, whatever you want to call it. So now the old CEO turned chairman is now going to be coming back as the CEO. He said it's going to take 4, 5, 6 quarters. He said by the middle of 26, expect this thing to be, right side up. In the meantime, and he's also the one that took it from a small company to a much, much larger company. So we're looking at United Health really ramping up. We've got a PE of 11 times, so that is cheap. Very cheap for what United Health has, or where you normally see it. We've also got a quarterly dividend sitting around 3%, which we normally don't see. We're normally seeing this thing at 1.5 to maybe 2. So I was calling this one last week a buy for the down price that we had already had in United Health. Some of the problems that we were already getting through, we knew some of these costs were higher. We expected something to change on that front, right? So they are addressing all these different things, going after a lot of different smaller problems at once, trying to right the whole ship. So I bought $200 worth for our investing challenge last Monday. I told you I was going to do that. I normally wait for around lunchtime. I was in the middle of something around that time, so I believe I bought like 9:45, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I bought $200. Then we had this announcement that guidance was getting cut. Things kept looking worse than what they were even saying. So they had they had cut guidance back prior, and now they just dismissed guidance altogether. That was the big thing that really shook a lot of people on Wednesday or Thursday. So this thing went from 320 down to 248, man, 248. So that was a massive drop, especially if you look at where it was in November at 630, which is insane. That a stock like United Health could be down from 630 in November. And that's why at 320, I was like, man, this thing is looking like it's prime for the picking. We've got a great PE compared to where it is. Guidance, was lower, but it was still oversold compared to what the guidance typically was, or where those metrics normally rest. That price point, I said, I'm going to buy it. I think it makes a lot of sense. It is a best of breed type stock that has got it's got some headwinds right now, right? We had those CEO problems, had some cost problems, but now going forward, I think we can get away from that. But when they just dismiss the guidance altogether, it was like open season on the stock. Everyone's selling puts on this thing, expecting it to go down further. The options market was going crazy. And I went ahead and started funding my IRA. I put some money in there. I bought United Health in that account. I bought some in my brokerage account. And I'm still down on the shares that we bought in the Webull account. But my point is here that I was averaging in across multiple accounts into this thing, expecting a rebound. So again, I don't like to say go all in on anything, right? Which I didn't on this one. I put in a couple $1,000s in here and there, and I'm trying to spread out my cost, right? I'm trying to spread out where I'm buying this thing. Could it go lower? Potentially, but I feel like now is a good time to be buying this thing, which I said last week, and I know that didn't go so well. It went down 70 points in the matter of, 3 days. So it doesn't look too great for me. But now I'm even more so bullish on this thing, right? So we've seen this before. No one wanted to buy AMD, little old AMD at 70, whatever, 77. And now I'm seeing people saying, oh man, should I get in AMD? I'm like, yeah, you should have got in it when it was sitting at that low of 76.48 in April, and now it's 117. Now you're asking me if you should have got in it? I told you before, if it goes under 100, I'm buying it. So definitely I was trying to buy it in the 80s, but now you're trying to buy it at 117. So, and look, I'm still down on AMD, right? I'm down. I know that. I appreciate that. But I started buying this thing in the 120s, 130s. And I wasn't able to average down enough on it to be in the green at the moment. But I do have a wholehearted feeling that this thing is going to come back. So why? Why am I thinking that? Well, AMD just announced another $6 billion of buybacks. And they already had $4 billion of buybacks already approved. So we're looking at $10 billion of buybacks. We've got all these, Mag 7 stocks that we're reporting, all saying that they're still spending on AI. We got MI350 chips coming out this summer. We've got MI400 chips coming out next year. So I think we are in the early innings of, the turnaround for AMD. I don't think that everything else has been fully, some of it has been baked in, right? But now I don't know that MI350 or 400 is into the cards as to what's going on here. So NVIDIA kind of gets the benefit of the doubt, but AMD tends not to. So I'm thinking going forward that AMD might not be a play for, immediate right now, but I'm thinking a year out. This is definitely one that I'm still trying to build, more of a position in. So I'm still not done buying, but I don't really want to buy after a 30 or 40 point run, which is, probably about 50, 60% from where this thing was. So for those reasons, I'm not buying AMD, but I am still buying United Health. I'm looking at both of those. We've got, we got Bitcoin. That's moving back up. I think we're north of 105,000. Let me take a look here on BTC. I will pull up my crypto.com app. Oh, and Webull's going public as well. If you do need help getting started, I do have a link in the description for Webull. You put in $500, I believe you get 20 fractional shares right now for free. It's kind of a random drawing. You can get some awesome shares for free. Oh yeah, Bitcoin's at 105,320. So definitely looking good. You're seeing more and more people. I think JP Morgan just came out on Bitcoin saying that it could potentially get to a nice 7-figure sum for one Bitcoin. And other people saying, yes, it's going to get to about 500,000. And I believe JP Morgan was the one that said it's going to get up to $1 million on one Bitcoin. I'm going to see if that's not in this news. I believe I read it on some other outlet, but I'm going to see if I can get it here. Maybe not. We'll try to pull that one up elsewhere. But again, yeah, I'm definitely still bullish on Bitcoin. And that's definitely the crypto that I want to be most heavily invested in. I know a lot of people still looking at XRP, Ethereum, all those different altcoins. XRP definitely is in that sweet spot right now, and I think that could trend up as well. Ethereum, man, I don't know. It feels like the buzz has kind of calmed way back on Ethereum. Maybe I just don't listen to it as much anymore. Maybe it's kind of gone by the wayside a little bit. I'm not too sure, but I hear more and more people talking about Bitcoin. So again, you've got deregulation or acceptance of crypto from the Trump administration. More and more people allow, kind of comparing it to an alternative for gold. Gold's been on that run. Let's take a look at Barrick Gold, GOLD, see if we can't find anything here. Again, I think there's a lot of ties between the two to where, Bitcoin's going to start outperforming based on the scarcity of it, based on the people around the world really not knowing if we're entering a recession, whether or not we're going to be safe from a lot of these things, and people trying to, not have their currency collapse. So they want to invest in something that's going to be alternate, maybe not even in USD, but go to Bitcoin, right? We really don't know a lot of the volatility around all of the market, any fiat currency, right? So do we want to be in the pound? Do we want to be in the euro? Do we want to be in the dollar? Or do we simply just want to invest in Bitcoin? And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of pointing to right now: gold, Bitcoin. So I definitely think that can continue to go up, and I will definitely look to buy more Bitcoin when this price kind of comes back down to earth. I think it will have a pullback at some point as some of these things do get announced as, it's accepted or allowed as a legal asset of sorts. So I'm thinking that could be maybe the time when some other news around Bitcoin gets announced. Maybe it does pull back. Maybe we do get some pullback on that news, and maybe that's a better time to buy it than sitting at 105,000. So again, if that goes back into the 80s, similar to AMD, even though we're talking 115 versus 105,000. If it goes, either of them go back into that 80 kind of price point, I think that's a great spot to be buying either Bitcoin or AMD. So we've got Buffett, right? Where he's talking about a lot of different things. And, now that he is out as the CEO, looking at their portfolio, and he is buying, well, he bought a lot of different things, but some of the ones that he added a triple digit position to, right? Some of them are north of 100%. STZ Constellation Brands is one that Berkshire Hathaway was adding big time. He is definitely bullish on these type of commercial or consumer packaged goods. I think they're Corona, Modelo. Don't quote me on that. What do they got? But yeah, Corona, Extra Modelo, Robert Mondavi, Kim Crawford, a bunch of other wine companies, beer and wine, spirits, kind of the list goes on, right? So he's looking to buy there. He's buying Pool, which I believe is Whirlpool, and buying this one at 320. And know what kind of upside do they have there? I know he's buying into some more Occidental Petroleum. Not much in the way of upside on Whirlpool. We've got selling out of Citibank completely. Berkshire closed 100% of their Citigroup position, right? So I'm not too sure why he wants to sell that one, and I am definitely interested into that one. We've got around 3% dividend yield. I know I got into this when it was probably 4.5, around 16% of upside. So that's strange to me. The mismatch between analysts and then like a Warren Buffett, right? You're closing Citi that has around 16% upside to buy a Whirlpool that has 0, according to the analysts. So what does he see that they don't see? And vice versa, right? So also closed out of NU, which is going to be New Holdings, I believe. I'm thinking NUE. Let us take a look here and see just what they are doing. Let's get to snapshot. They got around 10% of upside on NU. Brazil-based holding company, digital banking. All right, so I'm thinking NUE, which is Nucor, which seems like one that he wouldn't have closed. That doesn't really make sense to me. So this is digital banking, credit lines, mobile phone apps for banking. We've got customers can deposit, manage, and save their money in interest earning accounts with complimentary debit cards. Headquartered in Brazil. All right, so it's I guess, kind of like a Brazilian PayPal kind of outfit. So yeah, that is definitely something that he is now out of. Michael Burry, Big Short, if you've seen that movie. If not, you probably should. He added one stock in 100% and sold out of all the others. And that was Estee Lauder. So buying the cosmetic company and selling out of his other position. So he is betting that this thing is going to go through the roof. Launches Origins products in US on Amazon. So maybe there's some sort of benefit to people going back in the office. We're not going to be as hybrid. People are, I don't know, are we still traveling more? I mean, I'm seeing someone else just bought like a ton of JetBlue. I forget who that was. It might have been Carl Icahn. I'm not too sure about that one. Don't quote me on that, but I believe someone else was buying a big amount of JetBlue. So maybe we're doing a little bit more traveling. Maybe that's the play. About only 1.27% up. So I guess concerned, confused as to why we're buying that so heavy, what the play is there. And then same thing for JetBlue. Is it just too cheap right now? Do we really think that it's going to go to 8? Is it something to do with the merger? What's going on there? Is it the fact that Delta is revamping all of their cost strategies to where I know Delta had a thing. I was just looking recently on Expedia where if you're traveling without a bag, that is their base fare. If you have even a carry-on, that's like $30 more. If you have to check a bag, that's $80 more. Whatever. Don't quote me on the prices, but every little thing was an add-on. So maybe it's a fact where, hey, JetBlue is going to be a better option price-wise based on the margins that they have, and you actually, maybe more people are going to be leaning towards JetBlue than a Delta right now. I'm not too sure, but that is one of the plays that I saw recently. So what are your plays right now, right? Where do we want to invest? Where do we want to park this money? I don't know that I really am going out of my way for a lot of travel stocks right now. I didn't get into it. I was talking about Air Force One with Trump, and was it Qatar? Or potentially it was, hold on, let me share this screen. Let's see if we can share another screen and pull up this article from Trump Middle East. Let's see if we got this one. We've got key takeaways from Trump's Middle East trip. We were looking at Syria. We've got making a major change in U.S. foreign policy, dropping sanctions against Syria, no caveats presented. By week's end, Secretary of State Marco Rubio sought to clarify the U.S. position, saying the administration would start by issuing a temporary waiver of some Syria sanctions. A permanent repeal, he said, would come later in a request to Congress. We've got Putin and Zelensky. I don't think that they ended up meeting. I think that there was talk of them actually kind of coming together, but I don't think that happened. Israel, Hamas, Trump would have liked to unveil a major agreement between the two. Could have added a stop in Israel, but the conflict is at a risk of escalation as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to launch a more intensive phase of the war in Gaza. What else do we have? I know it was in here somewhere about this plane deal. Maybe I was reading another one. That happens more than I'd like to admit. Sorry, deal with Iran, praise from Democrats. He thought Trump had handled most of the trip well. Two former Biden staffers also said privately that they thought trip was a foreign policy success. I tend to agree with that. I think a lot of the deals that they had made, I want to say it was Qatar, I really do, about offering Trump a Boeing plane. And Trump had said something along the lines of, I could do that. I could take your plane, but I don't want to hurt Boeing like that. Even though the Boeing plane that is supposed to be used for Air Force One has had multiple delays, which has been kind of an ongoing problem with all of Boeing lately. So another reason that I'm really not looking to get into Boeing. But yeah, hopefully that United Health does not become the next Boeing, because I'd have to eat my words, and I really don't want to have to do that. But here we go. Like I said, I'm buying United Health. I think that this thing is going to get sorted and figured out. And then once we get some guidance that returns to their 13 to 16% growth that they were, really proposing that they got to, I think that we're kind of off to the races, right? I think that once we get a solid footing with some solid numbers and we actually have guidance, right? I think that's going to be a massive game changer to get this thing back off to the races and get that PE back up, trading in that mid-20s kind of price point. And then we're going to see, what United Health can really do. But until then, we're really worried about Optum. We're worried about the margins. We're worried about getting a CEO back in office that is really going to do what we need done and go from there. So yeah, where do we really want to take a look this week, right? I'm still looking in the chip space. I know that Google has put Gemini into YouTube, I believe. I believe that is exactly what they did. So I still like Google. I really like NVDA. I still think that this has a ton of room to run in the next 5 years, give or take. So I'm definitely bullish there. I still really like AMD, even though I don't really care for the positioning as to how much it's come up in the past month and a half. A Bank of America, I believe Warren Buffett actually sold out of some of this. And man, I don't know. They still make sense to me. I'm a little leery about getting into some of the ones that he's selling out of completely, but I'm sure there's more to that story. Not even that, Bank of America, I wouldn't buy it, or Citi, I wouldn't buy it, but I would like to know a little bit more as to why he's getting out of them. One that does strike a bit of a fancy right now might be Eli Lilly, ticker LLY. We had this thing trade down 757. A lot of the stocks that weren't really tied to the NASDAQ have gotten pummeled. NASDAQ got pummeled, and now they're kind of, coming back up. Eli Lilly is definitely in that pharmaceutical place, but they're more like a trade like a biotech. So they're definitely more, they're not going to be your Johnson & Johnson or your AbbVie. They're trying to have a lot of new blockbuster type drugs out there. So Eli Lilly definitely got traded down. I'm, for one, thinking that could be a good play. Next era, I don't really know where that's going to go right now. I did get word that the federal tax credit for solar is actually going to be expiring at the end of the year. That's probably not new news to everyone, but hopefully that helps someone. If you're looking to get solar, which I haven't done yet, there is that 30% tax credit, and that is a huge savings. But now something like an Enphase or Sunrun or First Solar, those are going to be hurting come end of the year, right? We're going to get this big pull forward, and then it's going to, potentially flatten out, right? I don't know if as many people are going to be buying it if they're not getting that 30% rebate. So kind of, reminds me maybe of how UPS did during the COVID era, right? UPS had this ginormous pull forward. Why is this thing not type whatever this is, Global Upstream Natural Resources, UPS. All right, UPS. We got this ginormous pull forward, right? Everyone was shipping things. No one wanted to go to stores. We wanted to have everything delivered to us. So everything from every retailer that basically couldn't stay open was shipping it to wherever it had to go. No one was going to pick things up. So we had, UPS run up massively in a short amount of time. And then the world opened back up, we had the problem with the Teamsters union. The cost of doing business was, soaring for UPS. They also had shipping volumes declining, right? So I don't know that UPS is a falling knife. I'm not saying that Eli Lilly is a falling knife. I'm saying that it had this big pull forward. We're kind of coming back down to where, it really should be. And now at a 14 times earnings, we're looking to get back to some growth here. We also had, Amazon sell off. Not Amazon sell off. We announced, UPS did, that we were not going to be doing as much business with Amazon. So we're kind of moving away from that business. We're getting to some higher, margin business, but the volumes are going to be lower. So there was a lot of things for UPS, similar that there was a lot of things for Eli Lilly that maybe we're getting away from. But I think the 6.5% dividend yield, I believe they either raised it or kept it last quarter. I don't think that there's any talk of having a big cut. So I'm still bullish on UPS. I like the 6.5% dividend yield. I did buy some earlier this week, and maybe that could be an idea for you to look into something that maybe got sold off of, but maybe it wasn't completely justified, right? There's a lot of different things going on in the last 5 years that had UPS on a rise and then this big fall. So maybe you want to lock in the 6.5% dividend yield in a company that is going to be returning to some growth after we had all the labor talks, getting away from Amazon, and that COVID pull forward. Maybe that's a play, right? So I don't know that Eli Lilly is quite the same. I'm just trying to, kind of connect it to the fact that there was definitely some pull forward from some of the pharmaceutical plays that they had made. Then, there was some competition similar, to what UPS does in every other business. They definitely had some competition in the same type of drug categories. They came back down, right? And then we had the big sell-off, right? Are we going to be able to export these? Are people going to be buying them if we're going to be having to charge 20% more to, import it somewhere else. So there's going to be a lot of that give and take. I think that we're going to get a lot of that sorted out. I still think that Eli Lilly has a very strong pipeline of drugs going forward. So for all those reasons, I'm still bullish on Eli Lilly. Man, I still really like Amazon. I really like Meta. Costco, I still think is too expensive. I really do. I don't really know that there's such a catalyst for that right now. AMD, too much of a pull forward, even though I really do like the stock. Next Era doesn't really make sense right here to me, as I think we're going to see more gains in the NASDAQ in the short term. We're looking at a 3% dividend yield on Next Era, 8% of upside. I'm gonna go Eli Lilly. Let's lock that one in. I'm gonna write down Eli Lilly, ticker LLY. That is gonna be my purchase for this week. Other news. Dick's Sporting Goods is to buy Foot Locker. $2.3 billion for them to buy out the Foot Locker chain. Carl Icahn added Illumina. ILMN was the ticker over there. He bought 450 or upped his position 450%. Told you that Michael Burry added Estee Lauder. If I said ELF, I didn't mean that. I meant Estee Lauder. The EL and I believe ELF should be the other ticker. Both cosmetics and not pharmaceuticals, just cosmetic plays. We got ELF, and we also have EL, and that's going to be the one that Michael Burry had added. We talked Bitcoin. We didn't talk RFK Jr. I know he was, getting those red dyes out of our foods here in the U.S., which is awesome. I like to see some actual progress for getting a lot of the garbage out of our foods here in the U.S. anyhow. And we definitely talked to United Health. We looked at a lot of Trump's deals, and that is about all the time that I've got for today, guys. So thank you very much for stopping by. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.